Do you think Israel breached international law by cutting off power and water supplies? Do you think cutting off food, water and electricity is within international law?
Do you think Israel is abiding by international law?
I think that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself against terrorists.
So a group of pro-Palestine protesters have gone and sprayed red paints on the Labour Party headquarters in London. That is to symbolize that Labour Party has bloods of Palestinians on its hands, and therefore, you know, this decision to spray red paints. I mean, this is quite dramatic development if you see that. In fact, one of the protesters is believed to be a student from Oxford, so they are quite they are like a group of intellectuals who have been moved by what is happening in Gaza, and who have also been really perturbed by the shambolic and despicable stand taken by the Labour Party all throughout the conflict. Of course, the Labour Party supporters would say that, oh, we have changed now. We are talking about ceasefire. We are talking about the humanitarian disaster that is unfolding in Gaza. But that's not enough. That's not enough. You know what Keir Starmer said when the death toll was 4,000 and he was asked about whether his party supports ceasefire. And he was brutally categorical.
While I understand calls for a ceasefire at this stage, I do not believe that it is the correct position now, for two reasons. One, because a ceasefire always freezes any conflict in the state where it currently lies. And as we speak, that would leave Hamas with the infrastructure and the capability to carry out the sort of attack we saw on October the 7th. Hamas would be emboldened.
Even Netanyahu's spokesperson would have struggled to make that kind of compelling defense for Israel as this guy did. I mean, we know that 33,000, 34,000 people have officially been killed. Who is responsible for that? You have to watch this. I did play some of the utterances of these leaders, in one of my earlier videos. But this compilation by Declassified UK is really good. They have added many more leaders in that. You have to watch that.
This is a really difficult, complex, serious and deeply held issue.
Do you think Israel breached international law by cutting off power and water supplies? Do you think cutting off food, water and electricity is within international law?
Do you think Israel is abiding by international law?
I think that Israel has an absolute right to defend itself against terrorism.
That's not the question I asked.
I'm not going to sit in your studio and grandstand and tell you that I'm going to make big pronouncements about what Israel is and isn't doing.
As I say, I mean, it's very difficult at the moment because this is all happening so fast.
What would your red lines be? There's been accusations of white phosphorus being used, of collective punishment, of bombing, of safe routes. What are your red lines?
Keir has shown real leadership in setting forward our position.
What I'm not going to do is adjudicate on each and every example that people may understandably want to put to me.
Do you support the order to move them or not?
The order to move them? Well, clearly.
Just yes or no?
It's not a yes or no, Victoria. I'm hoping one day to be Foreign Secretary and a Chief Diplomat, so it's not a yes or no.
The Defence Force say civilian deaths in this conflict are inevitable in order to eliminate Hamas. Do you accept that?
I was an aid worker for almost 10 years.
It's really just a yes or no.
I accept that when there is war, there is civilian camp casualties.
It's clear to me that it's wrong to bomb a refugee camp. But clearly, if there is a military objective, it can be legally justifiable.
Keir Starmer is not a protest leader. He understands why people are calling for a ceasefire, but he believes that for those two reasons, for now, that is not the right approach.
Some of my colleagues who think it's more important to make a gesture.
Still a relatively small number of junior front bench colleagues who've said this. They almost exclusively represent very heavily Muslim constituencies.
Keir's position is the right one.
A siege is appropriate, cutting off power, cutting off water. So
well, I think that Israel does have that right.
And you can't take their support for Israel in isolation. You can't. You know how the Labour Party conducted when there was a vote on ceasefire. The resolution was brought in by the SNP. It was their opposition day. And the shameful conduct of the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, I'm not going to call him sir. He decided to hijack the motion to support Labour Party so that, there was no revolt against Keir Starmer, because if he had allowed the SNP's resolution on ceasefire to go ahead, Labour Party would have definitely faced a revolt. And that would have really seriously undermined the leadership of Keir Starmer. That's something that Keir Starmer could not afford in the election year.
I regret with my sadness that it's ended up on like that, in this position. That was never my intention for it to end up like this. I was absolutely convinced that the decision was done with the right intentions. I recognise the strength of feeling of members on this issue. Clear today has not shown the House at its best. I will reflect on my part in that of the course I recommit myself to ensuring that all members of this House are treated fairly. I do not want it to have ended like this. I want to say to the House, I will meet with all the key players of each party. I think it is right that I meet with each one, and that. Can I just put that correct? I've never met with Sue Gray today. I didn't bump into her today. I'm offended by that comment. I think you'd like to withdraw it. Yeah, because that is the danger that we've ended up with this House in speculation of not what is fact and not factual. I am honest to this House. I am true to this House. I believe in all members of this House. And I have tried to do what I thought was the right thing for all sides of this House. It is regrettable, and I apologise for a decision that didn't end up in the place that I wished for.
And we know the proximity of Lindsay Hoyle and his family to Israel or to Israel's brutal regime. The Labour Friends of Israel was founded by Lindsay Hoyle's father, Doug Hoyle. And we know immediately in the aftermath of 7th of October attacks, Lindsay Hoyle, he decided to, break all protocol, and despite being an impartial person, he decided to undertake a journey to Israel, and he was there to extend his support to Israeli regime. So this guy is not impartial. 70 to 80 MPs had, asked for his removal. There was no confidence against him. And Keir Starmer later admitted that he indeed had a conversation with Lindsay Hoyle, and that may have played, he didn't say that, but that conversation may have played, a part in Lindsay Hoyle hijacking the SNP motion.
Of course I had conversations with the Speaker. All political leaders had conversations with the Speaker. I simply urge the Speaker to ensure that the debate could be as broad as possible.
And Keir Starmer, in the same interview to Sky News, had also said that he had spoken to Israeli president before talking to Lindsay Hoyle. When you see the Labour support for Israel in the context of all these developments, you realize how frightening this is. I know the opinion polls are saying that Labour is going to sweep the elections, that Labour is going to win more than 400 seats. By the way, you want to trust these opinion polls, do it at your own peril, because, you know, their sample size is about 18,000 people. I mean, I've never been a fan of opinion poll. How can you gauge the mood of the nation? A nation whose population is 65 million, you know, you speak to 18,000 people and you say that this is exactly how, you know, the 65 million people of the country think. I mean, this is all fraud. Opinion polls are all fraud, whichever country does it happen. I mean, this is the way to rig the elections even before the elections happen. So if the lobbyists think that this party, a Labour Party, is going to work to their agenda well in the coming 5 years, then of course they will do everything in their capacity to make sure that the Labour Party wins. We have talked about the electoral fraud across the world. I mean, we have run the voting on our channel, and those are genuine voters from around the UK. 10,000 people have expressed their voting intention. Of that 10,000, and by the way, it's counting, of that 10,000 votes, 90% people have said that they will not vote for the Labour Party. 90%. I can't believe that, you know, at a time when these bunch of leaders, of these bunch of politicians who supported the genocide of innocent, unarmed people, including 17,000 children, toddler, babies, they would vote for Labour. I can't believe that. I mean, we are not talking about uneducated voters, you know, of Asia or Africa or some other region. We are talking about a so-called first world country where, you know, you expect them to be literate and therefore would be able to make informed judgment. To say that these people, a majority of these people, are not moved by what is happening in Gaza, they are not moved by the shameful stand taken by Labour politicians, means only two things. Either they are heartless, cruel people, or the projection is wrong. The prediction is wrong. We have to decide, or the voters have to decide in this country, that are they heartless? Are they really cruel? Are they so savage that they will vote for these politicians despite knowing their shameful stand? Or these poll companies are misrepresenting their sentiments. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.